and all the king's horse and all the king's men couldn't put it back together again. Total health and safety nightmare.
Shall I stop modelling now?
Yeah, stop modelling. Yeah, total health and safety nightmare. But that's what you get for sitting on a wall. So,
well,
yeah,
exactly. Humpty Day.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Anyway, hello everybody. Welcome to tonight's midweek. What do we call it tonight? It's a midweek astrobleem. An astrobleem, by the way, is the impact crater caused by a meteorite.
Ah.
I'm suddenly turning to Stephen Fry. Anyway, welcome to tonight's midweek thing. We've got some stuff to talk about tonight, but actually tonight we'll throw it out there, and if anybody's got any questions, we'll try and pick a. Yeah,
this is utterly unplanned in the least professional way you could possibly imagine.
Yeah, in other words, you people are going to be doing the heavy lifting tonight, as we are just going to be completely coasting on our laurels here.
As discussed on Sunday night, as far as I was aware, until 20 minutes ago, I wasn't required, so I hadn't even set anything up. And now Jen's bottled out and has gone elsewhere. Can't get the staff. So I'm afraid you've got my pretty face again.
Well, it's always a pleasher. He said through gritted teeth.
Yeah, the enthusiasm was palpable.
It was overwhelming. Where should we start tonight? Let's start tonight with, you might have seen that I have got this got the IBG 70 seconds ago cruiser to a stage now where I can start chucking paint on it, but I won't be chucking paint on it until I've finished the third model in this particular desert trio, which is the little ex-Eschi / Italeri 70-second scale Churchill reissue. So I've got this, that Rubicon 56 scale LRDG Chevy and the Churchill will all be going into the paint shop at the same time. But this, I did find a way with this that I can actually get the running gear into place underneath the mud guards, and just kind of like, literally kind of just pop it into place, and then I can remove it. So what that means is I can paint everything in one go, and then pop that running gear out again, do detail painting, then pop it back in again. But
that running gear is hilarious. It's just like a complete collection of random bits in different spacings and sizes.
It's like we got some bits left over from the Valentine tank. Let's see what we can do. Well, this is the precursor to the Valentine, though, wasn't it? So
it's quite hilarious.
It's very, very British, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's very British. So that's where we are with that at the moment. Now, also tonight, I was going to talk about this as well, which is Spencer Pollard's new book, which is coming out soon. But you know what? Why do I need to do it? Let's ask the man himself.
Yeah, we're not doing donkey work for you.
We're not doing any heavy lifting for you. So,
right too.
You want to come on and waffle about your latest project?
Yeah.
Come on and waffle about your latest project.
Don't want to stay my welcome after being on here on Sunday as well. It almost seems like a weekly thing.
Vince, I didn't even realise I was required till 20 minutes ago. So
did you not?
No.
No, of course. That wasn't really made clear, was it, on Sunday? So
and then a link turned up to come through, and I'm like, oh, I suppose I better go and turn some cameras on and put a backdrop up and stuff. Apparently, I am required.
Go and sort something out. Well, I didn't think I was able to do anything until about an hour ago, when OpenReach deigned to phone me up to tell me they'd fixed the broadband, which was great. That they said, "Oh, we found a fault." Yes, I know you found a fault. You chopped through the line. That's where the fault was. You were fixing next door's broadband, and you cut through the line to mine. That's where the fault is. You haven't found it. You caused it.
And we were previously unaware of.
Is there any company more useless than OpenReach?
I mean, I know they get a lot of bad press. I've been using BT OpenReach for 20 years, and I can count the number of outages I've had in hours on the fingers of two hands.
I will say also that since I've been using BT, I have found it. This is not sponsored by BT tonight. I have found actually it to be one of the more reliable ones.
I mean, don't get me wrong. The broadband's fine and it works fine and everything, but they do have a capacity to cause issue where none should arise. I think it's fairly safe to say. So, yeah. Oh dear, I better not say who I work for. Oh dear. Let's just say wasn't happy when I missed the deadline.
In fairness, Anthony, two of the three of us have just quite vigorously defended who you are.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not defending the service. I'm just saying.
Oh, and in fact, I should say, no, I did have a 2-day outage, but that was, they dug up a big thing outside my front door and they said, this is, sorry, mate, we're going to have to do it. And it was like, oh, okay. So they gave me warning. They didn't just, they gave me days warning of it.
Before we had the new system put in here and everything, we had an outage that lasted 3 weeks. God. 3 weeks. They could not sort the problem out. 3 weeks without broadband and a phone. So yeah, I wasn't that.
Hopefully you got some money for that, or got some.
I can't remember, to be honest. I might have. I don't think so. I'm not really big on the idea of all that compensation stuff. I don't tend to hunt around. I'm a bit too much of a coward when it comes to it.
Well, no, you would kind of think they'd make a point of doing it, wouldn't you?
Yeah, just coming around and knocking on the door. Oh, by the way, we sorted your thing. Yeah,
stick that in your back pocket, son. We'll see you right.
Yeah, all right. Yes.
Would you like me to speak about your book, or shall I just go and make another drink, and you two can do kind of telecoms hour or something? So
actually, if you could make me a coffee, that would be very, very nice.
I don't drink coffee, Spencer. Yeah, you got any biscuits?
You got any cake? We got any of that? Yes, the new book. Thanks for letting me talk about this, which is great. So anyway, good evening, everybody. Again. Since the other night. So this is the new book that I'm doing. I did post a couple of things about this not so long back. And I sort of posted a sort of a picture of the cover and all of that kind of thing. But I did talk about it last year, that I would collate some of the dioramas that were built through last year, both as part and parcel of my stuff, also as the challenges with John, and they would come together in some sort of package or other. Anyway, this is the first of the books. This is part one. The reason it's part one and not the book is because there's a lot of stuff that we created and it just doesn't fit into one book without me making the pictures the size that you would associate with sort of, cheaper magazines, really. And I didn't really want to do that. So this is going to be part one, and there are 4 things in this. 4 of the dioramas are in this. Part 2 will have another 4. So this one is essentially the German collection. It's the Panther that you see there, Once a Hunter, of no avail, which features the Flak 88, which I replicated Francois' diorama in. There's the Hanomag with the Grenadiers, which was the very first one that was done for the collection. And then the final one is the Panzer II, which also includes the SASG. And each of the chapters goes through in detail how I created the dioramas, how I put them together, how I painted them, sort of the basic kind of ideas behind all of these kind of things. The book is likely to be somewhere in the region of about 60 pages long. It's the same. If anybody's seen any of the other books that I've created, this is very much along those lines. It's nice paper, it's really nicely printed, it's kind of bright, everything's sort of laid out in big pictures and everything. So you will get to see the dioramas. This is the only place, if you're interested in these dioramas, this is the only place that you're going to get to see these in detail. I won't even put these online, so you'll sort of see them, you'll be able to sort of have access to the images. And then the second book, of which will follow the same format as this one, will include the Sherman, M4 Sherman, passing through with a barn in the background, which you may have seen. It'll feature the T-34 ARV. If I can convince John, it'll also feature his T-34 as well, to run alongside, which I think will go nicely with as part of that challenge. It'll also feature the Chieftain, which is missing from this one, as a diorama. And finally, it will have the other Flak 88 that I did as a desert diorama. So there'll be 4 other things. and then the final book, which will come out later in the year, is the one that's on the garage diorama, the Honda S600, which is called just the garage. Actually, I didn't come up with anything sort of more interesting than that, but that's a standalone book because there were dozens of photographs of that thing being built. So anyway, so this book is, to all intents and purposes, finished, the first part. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it on for pre-orders over the weekend. The pre-orders, as you know, because I only do a few of these things, pre-orders pay for the printing initially, so at least I know I can get rid of them. So the pre-orders, but it will be very limited edition as normal. Doesn't get sold through anybody else, doesn't get sold through a third party, only comes through me. So if you want this collection of books and you want part 1 to go with part 2, now is kind of the time if you want to get in touch with me.
Well, we got a question here from Anthony. It says, what timing between books are you planning, Spencer, or will they all come out at the same time?
No, they won't come out at the same time, and the reason that they won't come out at the same time is, logistically I can't deal with all of that. Also, I think that I can't have that expectation that people are prepared to just pay for for one after another. These aren't I make no secret of this, they're not the cheapest books on the planet for what they are, but I don't sort of expect to produce one and then a month later another one and then a month later another one, and so there will be, between editions, there'll probably be at least 2 months, possibly slightly longer. I haven't started designing the second book.
Another question from Steve Moores, and he says, are they mostly AFVs?
This collection is only AFVs, which is why it's making me slightly nervous, I have to say, because I put a lot of work into these 3 books, and they're not aircraft which everybody's used to. So they are slightly different from what you would normally have. But I have to say, the way that they're designed and laid out, I'm really proud of these. That I think they look really, really nice. I'm really pleased with how they've turned out. And John and I did a lot of work last year. I think people sort of forget really how much work we put into doing this sort of the AFVs, the challenges, and all of those kind of things. So it's sort of nice to be able to sort of put these out for people to see them, because the only place that we saw them were in sort of snapshots on websites. They never got published anywhere. So these dioramas haven't been in other magazines. They're only likely to be in this. Which is again why I'd like I'm sort of dropping this on John at the moment, and I'd like his T34 to be in there. I mean, in actual fact, it possibly would be good just to sort of maybe bookend my article on this one, on his pamphlet as well. If you can send me a couple of photos of those.
Yeah, I can do that. Yeah, I can take some pictures, no problem. Yeah. Take some fresh pics.
Because I have mentioned the challenge in the book. We did challenges on sort of various models within that, but if you'd like to just put some photographs together, and then I can put those in there as well, and so people can see what we kind of came up with. Yeah, I'm really proud.
Sorry, the boy at the back's got a question.
What's up?
Question, sir. Looking at the cover there, Spence, is this going to be in landscape format?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Yeah. That's another way that these books. This one differs. I think I might have changed the design of the car one as well. I can't remember. It's been a while since I've looked at it, to be honest. Yeah, the books aren't in portrait. They're in landscape, and the reason they're in landscape is so that you can see all of the dioramas over one page. Each diorama over one page without going into a gutter.
Yeah, no,
that makes sense, actually.
Yeah.
I was looking at the just the picture that was shown by John there, or was it John? And just thinking that looks like it might be in portrait in landscape format, but we just needed to.
Yeah. I tell you what made me think about that actually. Before I come back to Roger, is when I was laying out the pages for the Tiger Moth. I was doing. You remember we talked about a Tiger Moth book earlier on in the year, and I couldn't work out a way of getting the Tiger Moth to look really nice across a portrait page without it being really narrow in it. And I laid it out over a landscape page, and it was like, there we go.
There's a really strong argument for a lot of books to do with the hobby being in landscape format.
Well, to facilitate the format in which the photographs are taken, which is that.
I don't know about anybody else, but my first, for the first few years of buying books on specific aeroplanes, it was almost all detail and scale, in action stuff.
Yeah.
Which was always in landscape format, and I've still got a pile of them through there, and the later lock-ons and stuff were all.
This is good. This is a good series. These are really good. If you get a chance to have a look at these, and these are all in landscape, so that's essentially what you're getting. So instead of having it like that and only having it across half the page,
or having it across the page, so you get
it in the gutter.
Yeah.
So the bigger pictures that are in the book are essentially almost A4 in size. So the diorama pictures, so you can see them, they're almost A4. So hopefully that'll be something that people will enjoy seeing, rather than sort of going, I can't really open this up and sort of see it. But yeah, they're landscape rather than portrait. It's something sort of slightly different. But
we'll come to Roger's question in a second. But I was going to say that actually, you mentioning that, one of the books that I got from Postscript last year, which honestly, I would urge people to go out and buy this book because it's only £9.99. This is one of the best reference books I've ever come across ever in the history of ever. And yeah, I mean, I like I like these kind of early German Panzers anyway. But because the photographs are, they are portrait, the amount of detail you can see in the pictures and just the sheer level of inspiration it's astonishing. But yeah, there is a lot to be said for, if the photographs are in landscape mode, is publish the book in landscape format. So
yeah, I have, and I'm with Drew, and we've probably all bought the sort of squadron signal books and everything over the years, and there is, I don't know, there's something quite nice about it actually, because you're so used to looking at a book like that and opening it that way, that when you get something that's bigger, it
feels more arty. It feels more arty.
I was just gonna say, if you've ever seen the art of books that are tied into movies, they are in a portrait. They're on a landscape format. Let's answer Roger's question. Will Spencer's book be up on his Kit F Facebook page?
Yes, it'll be up on the website. It'll be linked into the Facebook page. All of the ordering details will all be on there. It really is very much a pre-order thing, first come, first served sort of thing. And if and I like I do with a lot of these things, they're a bit of fire and forget, really, these books. I sort of get rid of the initial lot, and then once they're sort of at that point where I don't think I'm going to sell anymore, I do get kind of rid of them. Although I've still got all the files and everything.
Mike Williams says, Spencer, if you'd like to use some photos of my Strictly Out of the Box Chieftain, let me know. So there's an offer there from Mike Williams.
Brilliant.
And another Mike, a Michael Reeves in the Americas, says, will you be starting the Shep Payne tribute builds soon, Spencer?
I have no plan to start those until towards the end of the year, at the earliest, I think. Part of the reason for that is that, as I think we discussed on Sunday, I've got a Vulcan to do, and I've got a Panzer IV to do, and I've got a Beaufort to do that I managed to rope two friends into do. So it's looking kind of unlikely at the moment, and I also have some sort of other projects that are in the way. But I do want to get that Shep Payne book.
I want to throw some ideas at you for 2022 here, pal. And that is, like you've done the Legacy series with the Tamiya kits, is how about a Legacy series, but this time covering some of the Italeri classics?
Yeah, I think you and I talked about that. I also talked to Andy Farmer about it, that it was a possibility, because it fits in perfectly with the way that I've done other things and other dioramas. So that is definitely something.
Obviously, if these are confidential commercial projects, you can just say no comment, or you can just go.
It's not really.
No.
I think because of the way I approach these things and everything, and sort of the way the people kind of like them, they're not a commercial product anyway. They're done for my sort of amusement in a lot of ways. And if somebody else wanted to suddenly do a legacy collection of Tamiya diorama builds painted in the style of Francois Verlinden, then not sure that I could do much.
And I'm just going to lob this at you as well. There are still probably about another 5 what I would call Tamiya classics that I think warrant attention.
Well, if Andy Farmer is watching this of the fire escape trade, I need to know from him what the 6th to 10th are. I need, because I have 1 to 5. I want to know what 6 to 10 are. I think I know what 2 or 3 of those are, but I need to know the actual, and that would be the top 10 because I've done 5, and I need to know what the other ones are. So if you could let me know, that would be really good.
John Binford says, "What website?" I think the website is indeed www.thekitbox.org. There you go. John, yeah. we'll keep that up for a while so that people can bookmark that. And
I was going to do some updates this week, but not having a broadband is a bit of a pain.
It can be exactly. Yeah, I was going to play the guitar, but I didn't have any strings.
Yeah, launch his website. Broadband goes down within 3 days. Fabulous. Yeah. So okay. So. Yeah, thanks for that.
I was going to play the drums, but I didn't have any drumsticks. Although if you're Lars Ulrich, that's probably a blessing in disguise.
Yeah, I have to say, Drew, that little drone, the little Firebee, that's a sweet thing, isn't it?
Let's go and grab. I'll just go and grab some pics of that.
That's a really tasty little.
And you've just watched me pick it up.
Oh, tell me you haven't dropped it.
Snap the tail off it. Bear with me 2 seconds, right? See this? This is like a Billy Connolly sketch here. Got to change glasses.
Oh, please
picked up my model and I broke the tail off of it. Oh, dearie me.
Oh, no. I hate to be the cause of damage.
Have you ever been in a situation where you've picked up your drone and you've broken the tail off of it?
Although, the other night when I was doing the Sunday with you guys... Yay! When I was doing the Sunday thing with you guys, I showed you the Kettenkrad. As I was showing you the Kettenkrad, the trailer which was attached broke loose and snapped the trailer arm completely off, sending part of it across the carpet, which I then spent 15 minutes after the show on my hands and knees trying to find.
But being such a professional, he didn't comment on it and he just soldiered on.
As I reached that then, I went to grab it by the tail and I thought, that's only tacked on with a tiny dab of super glue. That's going to fall off. Exactly that. But I've actually got it on the...
Oh, you got it there. Well, we can have a nice big picture there, but there we go. So let's get rid of that. Let's go full screen with Drew. There we go.
Yeah, so it's just that's an appalling picture quality, isn't it?
It is. Turn the light on, man.
That's an appalling quality picture. That's made absolutely no difference to the quality of the picture.
Has. No, never mind.
But yeah, that's just a little ICM 48 scale KDA1 drone.
You see, now I want to build one of them now.
Well, I can highly recommend it. It's a fabulous little model.
I get the feeling what we need to do really is have the full suite. One of each.
I've actually got the other one behind me now, and I'm kind of, thinking, should I start that now? But I think we need to start making room for the Beaufort build.
Did you use Gun Sanyo's fluorescence for that?
There's no fluorescent on it, mate.
Is it? No, it looks fluorescent on the picture.
No,
it looks like is it just yellow?
It is. I'll show you exactly what it is. It is Guns number 4 yellow and number 79 shine red.
Oh, that shine red's really nice.
That is, and obviously some white for some of the wing stuff. But that is literally it. And I just gave it a quick white base white undercoat before going on to the colours, and it was all kind of sanded, lightly sanded between coats of paint with Trizact used wet.
That is really, really nice. Yeah, I like it. It needs a little hard standing and a figure to go with it to give it some sort of.
Careful now.
But that's you can see how small it is. But I think it's I can heartily heartily recommend it. Great fun, great fun little build, and I hope they continue, shall we say, because they've done the Fire B2 now, so I'm hoping they'll do the lightning bugs, which are the supersonic ones used as reconnaissance drones in Vietnam, with stores under the wings and stuff. So I'm kind of hoping that these sell well enough to.
And of course, you don't have any cockpit seats, pilots, anything like that.
Honestly, it took me. The only stuff you've got on the internals are the fan-facing exhaust.
That's it.
And that is literally it. And then there's the intake center body bullet that can go in after you've built the model. That went in at the end. So it was a really like a what we call a palette freshener.
Yes.
You can really, I just built that because we were coming up to the Beaufort build, and I thought that'll be a week or so to keep me occupied until we start the Beaufort build. And as it turned out, it took me sort of 5 days. We can't say enough good things about ICM on this channel, can we? And that is why.
Yeah.
And the detail is fantastic. The moldings are fantastic. I don't think there's a tiny bit of Mr. Surfacer around. There's a kind of like a hardback mounting piece that drops into the top of the fuselage. I think there's a tiny little bit of Mr. Surface around that, but that could have been done with a line of paint.
Just fill it in. Yeah,
that could have been done with a line of paint. And it's just and it makes it a great little subject.
Yeah, I've got one of those US Navy drone helicopters to do. The little tiny thing. I can't think what it's called. One of those. I've got the 32nd scale one, the resin one.
Which will still be a small helicopter.
It's still tiny, absolutely tiny. Yeah, and it's a big chunk of resin as well. And I was like, that's going to be heavy on those skids. But the way that they've created the skids on the real helicopter is they've got like pillars that they sit on, so they're sort of reinforced as they go along. But that'll be an interesting thing because they weather quite a lot, despite the fact they're pale grey overall. They've got some nice markings on and stuff, but they weather quite a lot, and there's some fascinating
maritime environment, isn't it?
Some really interesting stuff on that. So, and again, no cockpits and no glass, which is got to be good.
Yeah, I mean it can't be. I mean, my modelling, I always seem to spend days working towards getting the fuselage halves together because of all the cockpit parts, and I don't particularly enjoy cockpits anyway. And then once that's all done and the fuselage halves are together, the whole build seems to sort of plod along very, very nicely after that. So not even having that to worry about was great.
Checks notes. Doesn't like cockpits. Is about to build a Bristol Beaufort. Right. Okay.
Yes, and not only that, I seem to recall mentioned on Sunday that he was looking forward to the ICM 48 scale Beaufort, which has got an even larger collection of glass and more room for.
I suspect that will have a very complete interior from ICM.
Yeah,
and I mean the idea that Edouard and et al. Are not going to flood us with a million sets for it. But again, I would be interested to see how it looks built straight from the box with no additions, save some seatbelts maybe. Because I think that once you're 12 to 18 inches away from it, it's going to look plenty busy.
Yeah, I'm very much of the plenty busy frame of mind at the moment.
Well, it's Verlinden. Verlinden said that, didn't he? That it's not. I think he said something about with aircraft cockpits and 72nd scale. The seat's the main thing. Everything else, you don't have to go overboard on it.
I mean, you can spend weeks, cutting a million pieces of plastic sheet or using resin or etch or anything on that Beaufort interior, and you can say that yes, it's visible, but from normal viewing distances, I don't think it is that visible. I don't think it is that much of a. On the other hand, if it's what you enjoy doing, I'm never going to knock it.
I used to love doing cockpits. I used to absolutely love them. Now I find them sort of like a a trial. I think it's my eyesight. I think
Yeah.
as I've got older, my ability to see the detail has been squashed a little bit.
I think there's also an element of the having gone through that period, say in the early to mid 1990s, where I was threading masking tape through reheat buckles and using photo etched bezels and things, that I just looked at the models and thought, that's an awful lot of effort when actually it's not really ever going to be seen by most viewers. And I just got to the stage where I thought it's the external finish that sells it most of the time.
Yeah,
for me,
my favourite part is when I start airbrushing a model. You know, it's when for me, it's the painting and finishing is my major enthusiasm. So
whenever I look at a finished model, I kind of look at it in the round anyway. I can't remember ever sort of, even being at a show, looking into the cockpit to see what the detail of the cockpit. I always sort of stand back from it. So it'd be, I sort of feel the same way about looking at a painting. I look at a painting from distance to take it all in. I don't really look at like a small section of it. And I'm a bit like that with models.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of find that if ever there's a model show or a competition or something, there's an interior that really is worthy of being looked at, somebody will still have to tell me to look at it. Somebody will, they'll say, did you see that F-16? And I'll say, well, yeah. They said, did you see the interior? And I'm like, didn't really pay attention to it, if I'm honest. And they say, you need to go back and look at that interior. And you go back and you look at the interior, and it's, you go, oh, wow. But you have to be, you have to be pointed at. In fact, one of the only times I can remember picking an interior out all on my own was I used F-16 because it was an F-16, and as I remember, it was about after Stoney. I think it was probably a Donington show, and I'm fairly certain it was done by our very own Yoav. And I just remember there was like little jewels used for the HUD lenses and stuff like that, and it was just like, you looked at it and you just, I was drawn to it and went, wow. But it's like 1 in 100 interiors will draw me to go back and look twice without being pointed at it.
Well, Mike Williams says, I can attest to that on the Airfix Beaufort interior. I used an Eduard cockpit set, which looked great until I fitted the canopy. And indeed, I can, if Mike doesn't mind, is that
does that mean is Mike saying that once the canopy was in place you couldn't see it, or is he saying the etch interfered with the fit of the canopy?
No, I think he's saying that it. I think what Mike's saying is it all looked great, and once you put the canopy in place, that it largely you can't see it, even though, as you can see in the picture here, the clear parts are exceptionally clear. It just you lose it really. So
I do like that though, Mike. That is a very, very nice.
Yeah, me too.
Very nice done.
That's what I mean about the finish. I mean, Mike's nailed it with that kind of grot on the inboard section, and then he's just kind of not gone anywhere near the outboard sections, which you see a lot of modelers kind of do. It's their model, it's their choice. They do it evenly all over the place, whereas Mike's actually looked at the photographs there and gone, nah, it's only really there, isn't it? So. And yes, extra dark sea grey and dark slate grey is the proper colour scheme to paint a Beaufort in. So,
which I now have.
Oh, have you got yours now? Have you?
Well, I've had mine for months, mate.
Oh, have you? Oh, so you? Oh, I see the colour scheme. You mean?
Yeah.
Yes.
Which I've now laid claim to.
Yes. Talking of colour schemes, while I'm on here, and I seem to have gay crashed your party. So what do we think of the brand new A10 commemorative scheme then, the black one?
I don't understand it. I don't get it.
I haven't seen it. I'm just googling it now.
I genuinely love it.
I don't understand what the point is. What's it commemorating?
Is it not commemorating a night fighter? Is that not the idea behind it? I don't know.
It's a commemorative scheme, commemorative anniversary scheme that seems to have come out of nowhere with no historical precedent that I can see. The others, no matter how awful they may look or how good they may look,
is this it?
There is at least
look at it.
There is at least
fabulous.
There is a historical precedent.
I suppose you could extrapolate the argument back to that one of the FSD aircraft was actually black.
I mean, I don't think it's I don't think it's unattractive.
Oh, I think it's fabulous. Look at it.
I just don't get it. I just don't understand as far as I'm concerned, if they're going to do commemorative A10s, they need one painted in European one. They need one painted in the Jaws scheme.
Why haven't they done a Jaws one?
No, it's just these are it's an open goal as far as I'm concerned.
I'm going to stick my neck out and say that I think that's the best colour scheme ever applied to an A10.
Yeah, I mean, as John said, 75th anniversary. I get it that it's commemorating an anniversary. I don't get the significance of the scheme.
Yeah,
not that I don't find it attractive. I just don't get the significance of. I think it's a wasted opportunity when there's so many properly referential schemes they could have used.
That probably is it then, isn't it? Because the unit in question is called Black Snakes. Maybe that's what it is. That would explain it.
Yeah, and again, I understand it, but I don't. I still think no aircraft they've had before has ever worn a scheme similar to that.
I'm assuming it's gunship grey and black. Is it? Is that what that?
Yeah,
it looks like it, doesn't it?
Gunship grey, fuselage, and then black.
But I would certainly be thinking long and hard about paying an A10C in that colour scheme. That's for sure.
I agree. I actually agree with John here. He says there are many retro paint schemes for the US Air Force 75th anniversary. It's not an A10 thing.
That Southeast Asia F-16 that came out the other week is beautiful, and
isn't that glorious?
I mean, I still sort of the Southeast Asia scheme on the A10. I'm a little bit sort of I think it's a great idea, but they've used one of the greens as the wrong green, and I'm a nerd, and I noticed that thing. I know that sort of thing.
One of the other things as well. Why haven't maybe I've missed it, and I'll hold my hands up if I have. Why haven't they done one in full blown like triple zilch scheme in painted aluminium with full color markings on it, and done something along those lines? There hasn't been an aluminium painted retro scheme yet, has there? And yet, so many of the American jets were in that.
There's been some on Texans, hasn't there? There's been some aluminium, and there was one on a Goshawk. You may remember.
yes, but that was a US Air Force one, wasn't it? Yes, I know. Yes, one of the most humiliating things in the history of my model making career.
Weeks you spent on getting that white, right?
I know, absolutely. Yeah. I did point out that the mark is still on the wall, didn't I? From me tossing that out. But,
there's been some T6 Texans in silver, I should say.
And we had the same conversation, didn't we? I seem to recall about the GR9 Harrier that was done in the gloss scheme, the green, grey, and light aircraft grey undersides. Personally, I thought that was a really lost opportunity to do like a squadron aircraft in wraparound with all the logos markings on it. And then squadron markings on it. Why wasn't it done like that?
I'm going to trigger Drew here now. I'm going to trigger Drew. Watch this. Wait for the reaction here.
You've got a Sea Harrier up. There's going to be dome. Just dome.
The words. Admiral's barge.
The blue one.
899 Sea Harrier. Please.
Vile.
Oh.
It was. That was designed. I don't know what the design process was in that. It was just. I didn't make sense because it was. Are you trying to make it look like an early Sea Harrier, or I don't understand what you're trying to do with that?
Nobody who knew any of the history of the Sea Harrier was involved in designing that scheme.
I think somewhere I've got a bit of artwork that I did where I actually did an FA2.
You did an FA2 and 899 squadron colours, and it was glorious.
Was it 899 or did I do it as 700A?
I
can't remember. I think I did it as 700.
It looked absolutely amazing.
Yeah, we'll try and dig that out. I'll try and dig it out. If I can't dig it out, I'll recreate it so that everybody can see.
But we seem to us and the Americans, bless them, we seem to have this knack for just screwing paint schemes up.
But there's been some honourable exceptions, haven't there? That's F-18C that they did in the number one prototype scheme, the white, gold, and blue scheme, was beautiful. It was absolutely gorgeous. The German scheme that they did the IDS Tornado in their original prototype colours, in the white, red, and black scheme, again, beautiful.
Yeah,
See,
this is a couple of A10s that have been really nice. There's one that's actually in olive drab and neutral grey, which is with the 8N code on it, and that is they've almost nailed it.
Yeah, you're a particular fan. You're a particular fan of the Lake and Heath mud hens as well, aren't you? In the red, blue, and what's the other scheme? Was there two of them or three? I thought it was three.
There was three, wasn't there?
Red, blue,
yellow.
Yeah.
Red. God, they were just hideous.
Yeah,
they paid no. What they did was they looked at an original. They looked at the original aircraft and they slavishly copied the blocks of colour over to an F-15 without any consideration or sympathy for the shape they were applying it to. Where that whole sort of yellow or red tail thing, that should have just been the rudders if they wanted to be, sympathetic to the shape of the aircraft they were applying it to.
Yeah,
it's just they get it wrong so many times. Then you look at people like the Dutch and the Belgians and the French.
And the Germans, yeah.
But, I mean, have the French done a single anniversary scheme in the last 25 years that you haven't gone, oh my Lord?
I am going to take exception here about the fact that this notion that somehow that we can't come up with good kind of like anniversary schemes, because no, okay, I've lost that.
Yeah,
no. Right, okay, let's move on quickly.
But if the French had applied something like that to a Rafale, those national colours would have been in curves and swooshes.
Yeah, that's the problem.
And so somebody's taken a look at a Rafale and said, it's such a swooshy shape that straight lines and angles won't work.
I have to say though, you posted the photograph, I think, Drew. I really love the Puma. I think that
Puma is very
really
nice.
That is almost all of the angles on the Union flag on the tail match the Puma's tail.
Yeah, and it's in that original colour scheme as well, which is so nice.
I thought that anniversary Chinook almost got it right, except for the swooshes down the fuselage side above the rear door.
Yeah,
and it's just that's just a little step too far.
Yeah.
Whereas the Puma is so beautifully restrained.
Yeah, and it looks new. It looks like it's just come off the production line. Yeah. It's in the best color scheme for a Puma. Look at it.
It's just because that Union flag, the red of that Union flag, just follows the angle of the tail.
Yeah,
and it just works absolutely perfectly.
The only thing I have issue, and this unfortunately is down to that dreadful modern day word branding, and it's this
Royal Air Force branding.
Yeah, it's that Royal Air Force brand. It's like no, you only have one roundel on a fuselage. You don't have two.
Look, you're not advertising your services. Cut it out.
Yeah, exactly. And
the Royal Air Force.
And I can speak from personal experience, having had a ladle in a couple of mixes for a couple of recipes for anniversary schemes. Is you come up with designs. It goes through a committee. Everybody wants to have their little. I want that, and I want that. Well, can you move that there? And
little, I mean, I still bristle. The apprentices at Westland repainted G-Links. They restored G-Links, and they got it almost perfect, except for the Westland logo, which they painted red instead of orange. Now that might sound like a minor thing, but at the time when G-Links was breaking the records, orange was the Westland corporate colour. So I think that's kind of important.
Yeah.
And they painted it red. So it's kind of like every time you look at it, it's the same with that Southeast Asia A10. Every time I look at it, the bit that's wrong leaps out at me and almost spoils the effect of something which should be great.
The Kestrel at Cosford is the same, because they made a big deal of the fact that they've repainted it. And they've done a beautiful restoration on it, but the tripartite roundels on the upper wing are the wrong size. And you notice it. You look at it and you go, that's not right. And I remember them saying, "Oh, we've had to mask all these things out and everything." And I was like, "Yeah, if you've done all of that and you've gone to all of that trouble to get that anodized finish and put all of the greens on and get the roundel the right size."
I'm not going to bring up a photograph here, because I think we're running the risk of kind of like infringing far too many people's intellectual property this evening. But there was a tale of two Tucanos. There was a Tucano painted in the Dayfighter scheme for a Royal Air Force anniversary, which is very nice. They actually did that they got the roundel proportions and colours spot on. Then there was that one in the Desert scheme, and the Type C roundel on that is just all over the place. It's every time I look at it, it just looks like one of those kind of restoration jobs where somebody says, "Yeah, I know it's not right, but I just wanted it that way." And it's like,
yeah,
okay,
yes, yeah, which causes all sorts of ire amongst model makers. Yes, if you can afford to fly a P-51 Mustang at the weekends, at least paint it the right colours. Mate, it says airplane. If he wants to paint it in pink, he's entitled to do.
Well, we kind of had this argument a few years ago with the Red Bull Sea Vixen, didn't we? Yeah. Before she was repainted, and it was an absolutely gopping scheme. But the plus side of that was we got to see a Sea Vixen fly.
Yeah,
because they sponsored the aircraft. So without that, running a Sea Vixen is not a cheap undertaking, and so I kind of, because it wasn't a badly applied anniversary scheme or something like that, or an attempt to represent the original aircraft, because they nailed it when they repainted it in the actual colours. But whilst it spent that however many years it was in the Red Bull colours, I was kind of okay with it, because it meant I got to see a Sea Vixen fly.
Yeah.
I also will bring your attention to that Phantom repaint that was done a few years ago as well, in the Royal Navy colours.
And again, they so nearly got it. But the couple of little things they got wrong just kind of they kind of grate. Because,
they got most of the stencils right, so that's all I care about. So.
It's funny though, isn't it? Because it's your own personal preference on this thing. Because the Red Bull P-38 Lightning, I really like. There's something.
I would say probably because that's natural metal, and a lot of lightnings were natural metal.
I mean, it's I guess.
Whereas there was never there weren't many natural metal Sea Vixens.
I mean, that Sea Vixen was just terrible, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a terrible scheme. But from over sort of half a mile to a mile away, when it's flying, you couldn't really see the colour scheme, and it was just the shape of a Sea Vixen doing its thing. I'll take a Red Bull painted Sea Vixen over flying over a grounded but accurately painted one any day.
Yes, that is very true. And then there've been other ones as well, haven't there, that have been really nice. Do you remember the Czechoslovakian Hind that they painted up in the maritime patrol colours? That was really nicely applied as well. So there have been nice ones, but occasionally you get them that are just.
There have been nice ones, but the UK and the USA have got a long and not very honourable history of making a mess of them, I'm afraid.
But also, John mentioned the Sea Harrier, the FA2 in that blue scheme. I don't even think that's the worst scheme. I think the one that's got that horrible orange triangle on the top of it is every bit as bad.
Oh, Satan 1. No, Satan 1, I quite like that.
I don't mind that, because that's not an attempt to... it wasn't an attempt to do a historical scheme and get it wrong.
It was an attempt to do a cover version, and they completely get it wrong.
I didn't hugely like it, but I wasn't as offended by it as I was that admirable barge.
No, I'm going to do a very quick and beautiful segue here, because actually one of the people out there who does a lot of aircraft restorations is Clive Denny at Vintage Fabrics. And he goes to extraordinary lengths to get things right. And I know this because I've kind of done some work with Clive, liaise with him and things or whatever. And he does if you see the work that Vintage Fabrics do, there's a reason why they're the go-to people, because he absolutely kind of nails it. Now, here comes the beautiful segue, people, is that it is actually Clive's Chipmunk that is on the Airfix one. There we go.
Oh, nice.
That's his aircraft, and went to extraordinary lengths to he went to extraordinary lengths to get everything right on that one. Now, this brings us to the Airfix Chipmunk, which is coming out in a few weeks' time. A few weeks' time. It's coming out over the next couple of months. Now, one of the things that people have been observing in some of the photographs is a bit of a kind of like a bow on the wing.
Bow to the wing.
A bow to the wing. And I put together one of my test shots here and had a look at it, and I'll just bring up the picture here, which I've lost. I had a look at my test shot here, and it wasn't as pronounced as it was in the photographs I was looking at, and I found the picture now. There we go. There we go. Let's bring that up. There we go. Mine wasn't too bad, and the thing about the Chipmunk is there is a slight amount of washout on the wingtips anyway. But as you can see there, it's not as it was a little bit, but then what I did was I chopped off one of the locating pins, and that seemed to kind of make things a little bit better. So anyway, I went away and I had a word with Matt, one of the designers, and I spoke to him about this, and he said, "Let me get back to you." And what he's done is he's got these were early test shots, and obviously the ones that were built from the ones that were built for the the first models that were built, get the words out in a minute, were all built from the early test shots. This is one of the production ones now, and as you can see, Matt's takes the photographs and put a ruler in there, and as you can see, it's not as pronounced as on those. It's not as pronounced at all, really. And if you look at it from the rear there, it's not really a droop. So I think to allay people's fears, it's not going to be on the production version. That was just a hiccup to do with the very early test shots. That's a production run kit there. And as you can see, that wing is pretty much as straight as you want it to be. So for people out there who are worrying about that, stop worrying.
Yeah, those photographs were slightly disconcerting, weren't they?
It's test shots though. And this is why you have test shots, is because you iron out things like that. So, what I did on mine was I had a look at them and I thought, okay, let's, literally 10 seconds. I just went like that, and then fine. But you won't need to do that on the finished one. So, public service announcement there, people.
I think just gluing it onto the top of your workbench, and maybe putting some burner clamps in there anyway, if you were really concerned about it, just to flatten it down if needs be. But it looks fine to me. It
looks fine. The production ones are fine. So there's that. So here we go. We're coming up to the hour mark now. So unless we all want to overrun, I'm happy to go on for a bit longer. If you two are happy to go on for a bit longer,
I'm happy to stay here.
That's fine.
As long as you've got questions to answer or whatever.
Not as if there's any football to watch. Oh, too soon.
Far
too soon. Okay.
I have to say, I know I'm still recovering slightly from the hangover from Sunday night that I had going out with my son for the first time in nearly 12 months.
I had a hangover on Monday, but I didn't have drop to drink on Sunday night. But there we go. Johan Olivier says the all black 16 Soldier Tornado GR1 is a favourite of mine. Yep, that is a nice one. And in fact, the Royal Air Force did what we got about nearly 20 years ago. Do you remember all the Jaguar specials they did?
The Black Saints Jaguar was nice because it wasn't overdone. You get the impression that people are looking for any spare inch of kind of airframe to put a design on these days.
And let's not be too critical of the RAF. They did, of course, come up with the greatest colour scheme ever applied to a Phantom when they painted it in the Alcock and Brown scheme. So they do have a certain degree of credit in the bank. in my eyes for coming up with that masterpiece of.
But do you know why
artwork.
the Alcock and Brown scheme is a masterpiece?
Yeah, because it wasn't designed by the RAF; it was designed by the artist
Wilf Hardy. It was
Hardy.
the work of one man, and that was Wilf Hardy, and they trusted him. I'm sure there was a little bit of a committee that went in there and said, "Move this here and move that there." I mean, I can say from experience of working, having kind of worked within done stuff for the defence establishment, as a way of putting it, is when you do get these committees and people say, yes, that's very nice, but can you move that there, and can you do this and whatever, and you do it, and then you just change it back to how you liked it, and they still pass it.
I can't say too much about this, but that's exactly what happened with the book project that I was volunteered to do for over the last couple of months. I actually had that happen to me. Can you just move this back? And I didn't like it, so I put it back where it was. Nobody noticed that I'd done that. It
is that Brian Clough thing, isn't it? It's we had a little chat about it, and then we decided I was right. So
all the way along. Yes,
it is honestly, it's always good fun.
As long as you make sure that you retain the original modified artwork. So if somebody says, "How did that happen?" You go, "I don't know. You must have been using an earlier copy of it because here's
did I send you that PDF?
Do you know what?
Updated one.
Do you know what? Honestly, so it just goes through the mangle so much that you have to learn to not be precious about it. It's just you just have to accept that everybody. Somebody will just come in and they've got no interest in what you're doing for them for that particular Ministry of Defence department, but they'll just go, but they'll look at their rank and they'll go, oh no, I need to have some input on this. Change that to green. I'm off to play golf, and that's it.
I remember that happening to me years ago. I did a commission build, probably 20 years ago now, 35th scale Panther, and it had a load of figures around it, a load of ammunition around it. There were guys taking photographs and all that sort of stuff. And the guy who I was working for at the time came to me and said, I want you to build this, I want you to build the model, I want you to use these figures, and I want you to put them in this position. Completely implausible. And I want you to put a tree in the background, something like that, which I did. I did exactly what he asked me to do, and he came and picked it up and he went, oh, I love it, it's great. And I just thought, that's just an implausible load of old hogwash. Anyway, I was at National Championships, and the guy that I was working with at the time had seen a diorama of a panther, and he came back to me and said, I've just seen this ridiculous diorama, and it's a panther, and it's got a load of crew stowing up ammunition, it's got some guys taking photographs. He said, it's the most preposterous load of nonsense I've ever seen in a diorama. He said, completely implausible. I don't know who on earth put that thing together. He said, I cannot conceive of ever doing that. I went, it was me. I did it. And the blood drained from his face. And he just went, what do you mean? I said, this is what happens when you do a commission. They can ask you to do whatever they want you to do. You do what they want. Might not like it, and I didn't like it, but that's what he wanted, and that's what I delivered. And unfortunately, you have to check your ego, park it at the bar, and then just
because ultimately, if you're getting paid for it, it's just as easy to do it wrong, but to his demands, as it is to do the research and do it right. That's how he wants it, and he's paying.
There is a noble exception to that, and this was going back wibbly wobbly effect here. This is going back 25 years or so ago, and I was asked to build a model by somebody. They said, I want this. They weren't. Not that they weren't a modeler, they were-ish, but they decided that they couldn't build this model to the standard that they wanted it given to their friend, so they asked me to do it. So I'm like, yeah, fine, okay, I'll do it or whatever. And it was some, I can't remember what it was, some World War II fighter. I kind of half remember it anyway. And so I'm like, yeah, fine, I'll do it. And we kind of, agreed a time scale and, and a fee for it. So fine. Kit turns up with, I'm not kidding, almost 10 pages of notes, double-sided. Right? Wow.
Was it a one-to-one kit of the actual aeroplane?
No, these were the notes from the guy had asked me to build it, telling me what he wanted me to do, right? So it's like, so immediately I'm thinking to myself, you've asked me to build a model because somebody has said Jonathan can build models, ask him to build that. And he said, oh, yes, I've seen your stuff in magazines. Yes, brilliant, But then it's kind of like, it's a bit like kind of saying, I've heard you play the drums, but I want you to play the drums like this, you see. I want you to, So anyway, these notes, right? It was like, first of all, detailing the cockpit, right? I want you to include these items, but don't include these items. And can you please weather the cockpit, but don't weather the cockpit too much. Then it was kind of like when you do the fuselage halves and this, that, and the other. Can you do this? Can you do that? And then it just went on and on and on. You see, can you replace this? Can you take this away? Can you do this? And I'm like, it's starting to get to a stage where I'm thinking this. It's kind of like, why aren't you building it for him? You're a modeler. Why aren't you building it for him? Yeah. And then it got to the finish, you see. And it was quite literally, can you use these paints and can you make sure you thin them at this ratio? And when it comes to the camouflage pattern, can you make sure that the pattern is soft, but make sure that the overspray is less than a millimeter either side of the colors? And then when it comes to the weathering, and when I finally got to the end of this 10 pages of kind of like script, I just put everything back in the box and I mailed it back to him and I said, I'm very sorry. I don't think I'm the right person to build this for you.
I would have been even briefer than that. I'd have put a cover note over those 10 pages saying no.
Yeah.
And just packed it all up and sent it back. Are
you bringing my expertise into this project, or are you simply using me as your hands? Yes,
this was very much. That was very much the impression I got. It's kind of like, it's a bit like if Andy says to me, you, or him over there in the corner, says, "Can you build this for us?" And we're like, "Yeah, no problem, whatever." And then you start getting kind of like director's notes. It's kind of like, "Well, can you do this? That shovel, I like it, but can you just make it a bit cleaner?"
Yeah, so you go into the doctor's surgery and you say, "Oh well, I know that I've come in to see you, but I'm going to tell you how to diagnose this issue that I appear to have. You don't mind, do you?"
Well, isn't that exactly what YouTube is these days? But yeah, so there are noble exceptions to where I turned that one down because I thought, just from very early on, I thought this is going to be more trouble than it's actually worth taking on, because I'm thinking, I don't want to build the model that way. Trust me, I'm a modeler.
And also, if he's offered you that kind of micromanaged guidance, what if one of those little pieces is not quite up to what he wanted on the spec sheet? Is he going to redo this?
Which is precisely why I didn't want to go any further with it.
Yeah, no, I'd have been like Drew. I'd have been with Drew. I'd have been Fokker, doesn't that? I'd be, nah, I don't think so, mate.
Yeah,
or I would have gone back to him and said, or I'd have gone back to him and say, "Yeah, I'll do it. That's fine. I'll do it to your spec. I'll do it to your spec. It'll cost you £2,500 because if I've got to waste that amount of time getting this the way you want it, you're going to pay me £150 a day to do this because that's how much a builder charges."
I would have just put a cover note over it saying no and sent it back. I'm probably sent it back. Postal charges to be levied on delivery.
Yeah,
well, you know me, I'm a diplomat, so.
Oh yeah.
When did that suddenly happen? Then what did I miss?
What did I miss? Everything. I forgot what we're talking about now. We've just gone off. Shall we just say hello to everybody who's watching tonight? Let's have a quick. I'll get me so deep breath here, like that, and say hello to. Say hello to Anthony Bird, Dave Swindon, Andy Brennan, Ian Goldstraw, Dougal McWougal, Paul Milligan, Stuart Bremner, Ofer Cohen, Lee Suter, Martin John Henry Smith, Mike Reeves, Pavel Krupovich, Mike Baldwin, not the one from Coronation Street who used to live here. Sadly passed away last year. Mike Williams, Roger Watson, Mark Ryan, Mark Neal. Mark Neal says, "This is the first time I've attended. Looks great so far. Love the format." Thank you, Mark. That's very kind of you.
He hasn't had time to become disenchanted yet.
Yes,
It will happen.
Give it time.
Yeah, well, it will happen. I think Stephen Price, Steve Moores, Marino. Hello, Marino. Michael Scott, Christian Gerard, who says hello from rain-soaked southwest Germany. Dave Fleming says milk, no sugar.
Bring biscuits, Dave.
Bring biscuits, Dave. Bring something to the table, mate. Then we might consider it. Colin Strachan, hello, Colin. Johan Olivier scrolls down. John Binford, hello, John. Scrolls down. There's more watching, but these are the brave souls who have actually poked their head over the parapet to identify themselves. And Jeff Baker, hello, Jeff. So, hello, good evening to you, Rob Herring, Jim Carswell, hello, everybody, and Douglas Hunter. So there we go. It's a jolly decent spread of people there, I think. So, should we go into the final? Let's go for a final 20 minutes. So, any other topics you'd like to discuss in the final 20 minutes?
20 minutes?
20 minutes, yeah, come on, think of something.
I'm feeling a bit pressured now, Spence, are you?
I do feel a little bit pressured.
Well, all right, I've been playing with making airliner windows in the last week.
Oh, here we go.
And so I went and ordered some clear casting resin.
Oh, look at this.
Oh yeah, look at that.
Okay.
And this is a set of. Let's turn the light on again.
Yeah, I would. Yeah.
So this is a set of Sukhoi SSJ fuselage halves, and I've put tape across the outside and poured clear resin on the inside. Like so.
Yep.
See it there. And started polishing it because I noticed that on things like Zvezda windows, when you put them in, they never quite reach the surface, and it's quite a weird clear material they use. So I'm trying to create perfectly flush ones to be masked off for spraying. It's been an interesting sort of experiment, shall we say, but not 100% successful, because the problem is when you mix resin with a hardener, you get a lot of air in it. It's very easy to have bubbles. I don't have a compression pot. I don't have a vacuum chamber, so I can't pull a vacuum on the resin to clear the bubbles out before I pour it, and I can't put pressure on the resin once it's dry. So the other thing I was experimenting with was just super glue.
No, I was just going to say, have you tried using super glue?
Super glue. So I've got this, like I say, there's this Vital Bond thick Cures Clear, which it does. The thing with super glue is it shrinks quite a lot as it dries. So I'm going to try that on some airline windows and perhaps spend a couple of days slowly building it up to a thickness and polishing that out and see what we get. So yeah, that's pretty much what my last few days been experimenting with outside. So because I want to do the windows on that Tupolev TU144 that we spoke about the other week, and I'd like to do the windows clear. So I think it's sort of putting a few days aside before you actually start the model properly to take the windows off and then apply coat after coat of super glue from the inside until you get a flush surface and a reasonably thick window that will hold.
Well, I had an exciting package turn up here today. Just finally, I've managed to get my hands on some isopropyl alcohol again, because obviously over the last year or so, there were other more pressing needs for it, and the prices went through the roof. So thankfully, I've been able to get a 5-litre bottle now for, I think it was just over 15 quid, which is not bad.
Yeah, I've got a supplier that I use for all that acetone and IPA, and I say 15, 20 quid.
Mm-hmm.
You get 5 litres. I don't understand why people buy it any other way, quite honestly.
I need a new bottle of acetone. I bought some of that last year. Got it just online, using it for clearing out airbrushes and all that. And and brushes and everything. And it is a very useful thing to have in and around the workshop. That's for sure.
Well, what I'm going to do with the isopropyl is just quite literally with the old toothbrush here is wash the figures for the Kettenkrad, wash them with some soapy water, and then dry them, and then just give them a final scrub over with some isopropyl, and then just let them dry. Just make sure they are as grease-free as possible.
Because when you get stuff, when you can get stuff by the 5 litre rather than a couple hundred millilitres that you get in model shops and stuff, you don't tend to husband it quite so.
No.
You don't husband it the same way, and what that means is you generally end up with a cleaner product because if something gets a bit dirty, you just pour some fresh and carry on. My
last big bottle of isopropyl, I think I've had that about 5 years, and that's
how I get cellulose thinners these days. 5 litres from the local car place, which is 300 yards away.
Don't you find that that's got a really heady smell, cellulose thinners?
It has, but I tend to, because I only ever have it in it's gun cleaner essentially, and I only ever have it in little decant it into little things like that. You see it's gun cleaner because it's really quite yellow, but you don't use it as a thinner. It's just basically for cleaning airbrushes and doing that sort of thing. Acetone I tend to use for 3D prints and stuff like that, cleaning 3D prints and things.
Oh, we have a question here. We have a question, and it is from Ofer Cohen, and he says, we need to find out why Hasegawa has not issued any new tool for years. There you go, team. Discuss.
But they have. This is one of those things. They haven't issued very many new tool aircraft kits. Although, again, they have issued new tool aircraft kits over the last sort of few years, Ospreys and those kind of things, family of F-35s, or various things like that. What Hasegawa has done is that they've landed their business model onto reissues with new decals and everything, which they sell by the hundreds of billions. And then they've used the money that they've made from that to create a brand new range of agricultural tractors, heavy plant machinery, trucks, figures, motorcycles, cars. They're doing a lot of figures.
They've pivoted to a whole new sector of the market.
They have. And I think what they've done is they've sort of decided not to go head-to-head with other companies who are more successful in that realm, and they've gone down their own route. And some of those kits, the plant machinery is absolutely
beautiful. Every time I see it, I think, I've got to get one of them and have a go, and then really think it's not in my wheelhouse. So no. But the thing is, Hasegawa, what a lot of people don't appreciate is that Hasegawa are a very, very small company.
Yeah.
In terms of their actual physical size and number of employees, it was probably 15, 20 years ago now. I remember somebody saying a post, Hasegawa sort of gave this out somewhere in conversation, but they had 38 employees.
Yes,
and that's from the owner of the company down through to the guy packing the models sort of thing. They had 38 employees, so they were, relatively speaking, a tiny company.
Yeah, and they've done an awful lot of MAK as well, haven't they? Jim Carswell's mentioned about robots. They've gone down that route of replicating MAK, the universe, and all of those kind of the sort of fighting suits, and also the larger machines. And if you get a chance to build one of those MAK kits, they are really fabulous. I built the Falcon, I loved it. Absolutely superb.
I think it's the crash of 2008, Japan was having some issues before that with their economy, and you'd already seen people like Fujimi pull away from the world market and pivot to the home market. And I think Hasegawa really.
That's what Johan's saying here. Hasegawa tend to be more pivoted towards the Japanese market.
Forced to pivot to the home market, and they're still about, and they're still, from what I can tell, successful. I just don't really consider them a major player in our sector of the hobby anymore.
Yeah, and the thing to remember about the Japanese domestic model market is it is still huge. The Japanese domestic model market probably eclipses a couple of countries worth of modelers.
Easily, yeah. Yeah,
I mean, when you look at the numbers that Bandai sell for their Gundam kits, and this is always that trick question I always ask: is which is the biggest kit company in Japan? Is it Hasegawa, Tamiya, or Fujimi? None of them. It's Bandai, because the numbers they sell of those Gundam kits is eye-watering,
and that's why they release 2 or 3 of them a week.
Yeah. I mean, I was looking. This week I've been basically, because I've been having it on the desk while I've been doing some writing, and people often lay that at the door of Tamiya. Why is it that they've only produced 3 plastic kits this year of an aircraft subject, or they've only done this, and why don't they do this? If you look in this catalogue, take a good look in this catalogue, not just flick through it and see how many incredibly high-end products are in this catalogue. And then when you look at it, go to the back of it and look at those. Then you'll realize where the money is in Tamiya's world. It's not in the plastic kits, it's in the RC side of it that costs them eye-watering amounts of money to develop. And then it's in the little 30-second scale cars that they sell to the kids, the little motorized one, which these things, these things here are the biggest seller in Tamiya's world. And these little cars here are the thing that holds up everything else. Without these, none of this exists, because they simply couldn't afford it. And these things are sold for pence in Japan. Kids are going out and buying them. They're like dinky toys for when we were. Yeah,
they are genuine pocket money products.
Yeah, they are. But I was just looking through this catalogue the other, just flicking through, and just going to the tool section. I mean, honestly, I would love to one day just be able to afford to go through this catalogue and just buy up all of the Tamiya tools that they do.
Yeah.
I mean, you just go through it. Pages and pages of high-end,
and it's all quality stuff.
And it's all quality stuff. Yeah,
it certainly is.
I see people using bits of wet and dry and normal files and stuff to file the tags off of photo etch. And I was just like, if you haven't used Tamiya's photo etch file, you haven't. I mean, I even bought some diamond files because it's a diamond file. I even bought some diamond files off of eBay just because it's the same thing, isn't it? No, it's not. It's it's the Tamiya.
It's beautiful.
See, this is what on the front cover. I was just looking at it and I was thinking, I'd quite like all of those. Just that there. Incidentally, the other thing I really want to get, and I'm desperately trying to get hold of one of these. This.
Oh yes, the new Campus Friends.
The Campus Friends set. I like this guy. He's not in that photograph. How much of a swagger has he got?
Yeah.
You know, it's just there with his guitar, and I was looking at it, going, I really fancy the idea of building those.
Well, he's a guitarist.
But that's where it is. It's not, we think our hobby, what we do, is one-dimensional. If you're interested in aircraft, why don't they do aircraft? Because a company like Tamiya isn't one-dimensional. They're very multifaceted and incredibly actually, when you look through the catalogue, an incredibly complex company producing a very complex range of stuff, and which is frankly why I still think they're the greatest model company ever. And I don't really see them being bettered. Doesn't matter whether or not individual kits are bettered by other companies. As an actual company in the round, when you take everything into account, I think they're literally untouchable as a company.
Nobody goes through evolutions and then revolutions the way Tamiya does.
No.
Yeah, Matchbox certainly are.
Matchbox. The greatest model company ever.
Absolutely. Right, Steve Moores asks, Scale Model World 2021. We did touch on this on Sunday. Rob Monfils, I seem to remember, said that a decision was going to be made round about August, didn't he?
Yeah, decision date in August, isn't it, on whether it's going ahead or not. So,
and in fact, that's just prompted me to check. Bear with people. Talk amongst yourselves while I tap away here. Because it's usually at this time of year that we're all getting terribly excited for the IPMS Avon show,
which is on the 8th of August.
That's
8th of August. Yeah, I'm just checking here. They've got it down as going ahead on the 8th of August. But keep an eye on what's happening. Essentially, they're hoping it will go ahead on the 8th of August.
They still seem pretty convinced that it is going to go ahead on that day. So, yeah, another one that I can't do, unfortunately.
Well, we'll just have to keep our fingers crossed that after July the 19th, that the situation out there is manageable. I think is the best way of putting it.
We have to look forward, don't we?
We do have to look forward.
Keep that in mind.
Talking and looking forward, we're all supposed to be having a socially distanced, sensible get together this Saturday, aren't we?
We are slightly up in the air at the moment.
Okay, that's fair enough.
For a very, very good reason, which I will tell you offline.
Off air, that's fine.
But at the moment, still going to be there. So still want to meet up. The arrangements may change overnight, and I'll tell you why when we come offline. But yes, still want to do that. Have we got any ideas in mind? What we're going to do?
Well, we're probably all going to Antics.
Yeah, I would think we're doing that. Yeah,
and then probably somewhere nice and airy and spacious round about St. Nicholas Market ish.
Yeah, sounds good. Will you be, rather rudely of me to ask, would you be able to come pick me up? Would you be able to do that?
I should be able to do that. That is dependent on two things.
Yes, I've been double jabbed.
No. It's dependent on two things. One is I have my not my MOT. My car has its MOT on Thursday, so fingers crossed it should be able to get through that.
Where are you staying, Spence?
Before you get to Clifton, John knows where we were in Clifton.
I know it is. Yeah.
But it's the other side of the Downs.
Yeah.
So it's the other side, but it's more towards the motorway than this end.
No, that's fine. So it's all dependent. It's all
sort of area.
Yeah.
Pardon?
More towards the sadly broke sort of area. Sorry.
Yes. So as you're going from Clifton and going back out towards the motorway, I think it's that way out, and on the left hand side. So it's pretty easy to get to.
So yeah, it's dependent on A, the MOT, and B, what my Saturday morning lateral flow test tells me. So, because I do that 3 times a week. So, but fingers crossed, it should all be both should pass with flying colours.
I think you'll be fine,
he said optimistically.
Well, Antics would be good, wouldn't it? I think we'd be going.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
Haven't been in a model shop for years. So.
I said the other day, the last time I was in a model shop was in Antics with John. When was that? Was that last year?
It was just before lockdown. Last time I was in a model shop was a few weeks ago, and that was with Jen. So
the last time I'll have been in a model shop was when I went in Antics with John the last time. So there's a theme here, isn't there?
I am clearly the catalyst. I'm clearly the singular point for all this.
There's a theme here, isn't there, Mr. Hills?
Right.
Yes, indeed. But I could do with picking some stuff up actually if he's got any bits and bobs. So good.
Any other business?
No,
not for me.
No.
We are all good. Yeah,
I'm just going to say I'm just currently there's a book recommended to me by the writer John Rain, and it's a book called Hancock's Last Stand. It's essentially it's by Philip Eddie Locke, who was the director and producer of his final series that Tony Hancock did on Australia. They were going to do something like 13 episodes shot on 35mm, one of the most kind of like prestigious productions ever done in Australia at the time. They got 3 episodes in, and Tony Hancock took an overdose. And it's one of the grittiest books I've ever read, because it's clear from the outset that when Hancock turns up in Australia, he's not in the right frame of mind. And it's you're probably thinking, during a depressing pandemic, why are you reading a book like this? And I'm a Hancock completist. I've read every other book there is out there on Tony Hancock, never read this one. And I think the best way of describing it is it's amazing the capacity that people had to forgive Tony Hancock, because at times he could be an absolute monster.
Yeah. I can remember reading just his Wikipedia page a while back, and he often wasn't very sympathetic as a character, as a human being.
But I think the other thing that's just really sadly depressing about the book is that, I mean, Hancock was, let's put it this way, Hancock was 10 years younger than we are now when he died in Australia in 1968. And when you see the pictures of him, he just looks like an old man.
35.
No, yeah, very good. He was just gone 44 at the time. Wow. And yet he looked about 74. Just unfortunately, his lifestyle robbed him of that mobility that his face had. You know, that wonderful comic timing, that nuance, that little flicker and that tick that he would have. It is a supremely depressing book, but if there is one,
I shan't read it then.
I know, but if there is one thing that I know, but if there is one thing that is if there is one thing in it which is the positive you can take from it, it is just how the people around him they had this capacity to forgive him all the time, which is, you know, you can't fault them for at least trying.
Like I say, I think we need to keep looking forward. We can't
absolutely
keep looking backwards. We cannot.
Absolutely.
We can't live our lives like that. We've got to keep focused on what's in front of us. So
don't look behind you. That's not where you're heading.
Yeah.
No, that is not. Because so who's buying cake on Saturday then, John?
I've got a communication problem here. The headphones aren't working. I didn't catch that. I think you said something about Drew buying cake or something.
Yeah, Drew said he would buy the cakes.
Look, I'm actually building a model here while we were having this discussion.
We'll have less of that. Thank you very much.
We're not on that model making lark.
Model making lark. No, exactly.
Okay, thanks for letting me spin my yarn about my new book.
It's always a pleasure to have you on, Spence. You know you're always welcome here, and just don't believe things we say about you in the WhatsApp group. So,
yes. Well, is it like one of those private political WhatsApp groups that?
Well, you're in it. You're in it. So you should be reading it.
So much about.
Yeah, absolutely. Right, let's move on. Right, okay. Well, just to say thank you to everybody for joining us this evening. We'll be back on Sunday. I don't know who's back on Sunday. Are you back on Sunday, Drew?
Oh, I suppose so.
Fair enough. Yeah.
I rely on being invited these days.
Well, you can come back on. Well, probably I'll have Spencer on as well. He'll probably just gate crash and want to flog something else he's working on. So.
I'm not sure what I'm doing on Sunday, actually. I might still be in Bristol. I don't know.
That's true, yes. Yeah, well, in fact, what we should do, actually, I'm thinking is we should actually, I'll probably bring the MacBook along, and we could probably actually record the get-together of us actually having a conversation, record it, edit it down, cut out all the naughty bits, and then put that up live.
We could do a little Facebook Live, impromptu Facebook Live from Antics, couldn't we?
If we can get good Wi-Fi, yeah.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
That's the thought. Anyway, look, on that note, we'll this is all dependent on a lot of other things. So on that note, just remains to say thanks to everybody who tuned in tonight. That's very kind of you. We will be back on Sunday with a bit of luck. And in the meantime, we might even be back on Saturday. Who knows? So until then, as always, stay safe, stay out of trouble, and we'll see you soon.
See you next soon.
Bye-bye.